Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. On Tuesday, News 2 brought you the news that the West Indian Company Limited, or WICO, plans to expand their dock. Work is slated to begin in May, pending clearance of all necessary permits, but there are long-term plans for the area as well. News 2's Erica Bivens explains the three-phase plan.
The newer cruise ships are larger, heavier, and longer, which requires us to keep up with those demands. And according to WICO's president, Joseph Bischulte, they plan to do that by expanding their southern dock by 150 feet.
Along with that extension, we are going to do some repair work on the existing end of the pier to strengthen it and modernize that portion of the dock by bringing in some brand new 150-ton bullards, which are the parts on the dock that the ships use to tie their lines to. Right now, most of our bullards are 60-ton bullards.
Assuming all permits are acquired, work will take place May through November. Bischulte says they plan to work around the cruise ship schedules. For example, on days when there's 3 ships in, they'll focus their work on the dock side. Compared to days like today, when there's only 1 ship in, they'll focus more on the sea and pier itself. The expansion is a $10 million investment, which Bischulte says will allow WICO to hold 3 large ships.
We become a 2-ship port, which is not good. It's not good for WICO, it's not good for the territory. And some people may ask, what about Port Authority? Many of these days, Port Authority is full at the Crown Bay facility. So that would be lost revenue not only for our company, but for the territory on the whole.
Phase 2 will encapsulate the dock at a price tag of $6 million, while Phase 3 is estimated to cost $50 million.
We have completed a feasibility study on bringing a new finger pier to the western side of the existing Yacht Haven property, and it will be a finger pier with 2 berths and a staging area.
Phase 3 is a few years away, but Bischulte says they'll keep the community updated as things develop. For News 2, I'm Erica Bivens.
As a side note, Bischulte says our 2013-2014 season looks good, with more cruise ship calls coming to the territory. After a 2-day trial in district court on St. Thomas, a federal jury on Tuesday convicted Davidson Alfred, 49 years of age, and Lamorth Delva, 44, of transporting illegal immigrants. Alfred also was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon on a federal officer. According to the evidence, in 2012, a boat carrying 30 illegal immigrants from Haiti arrived on the east end of St. John. The immigrants hid in the bushes until the next morning. Now, that next morning, some of them got into a vehicle. 3 CBP officers formed a roadblock in the area of Skinny Legs restaurant. Alfred failed to stop the vehicle at the roadblock, but eventually did after officers drew their weapon. Members from the Smithsonian are in St. Croix this week to record Stanley and the Ten Sleepless Knights. The Quail Bay Band has been chosen to be part of the African American Legacy series being put together by Smithsonian Folkwear Recordings and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. This is Erica Parsons has that story.
We all know their sound, but now the rest of the world will be able to enjoy Stanley and the 10 Sleepless Knights.
That has been our intention all along, from then we start. That is preserved and it's perpetuated, it's carried on.
And that it will be, thanks to collaboration between the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture and Smithsonian Folkways Recordings, who started the African American Legacy series.
Ever since the 1970s, one of my favorite musics has been what they call today Quail Bay music. It was called more scratch band or fungi band back in those days. And I've known Stanley and a couple other groups in the islands here since then. We put together a nice assortment of different kinds of recordings that would touch on important parts of African American heritage in the United States and its environs.
That heritage includes blues, jazz, hip hop, and other folk traditions, including previously unreleased archived recordings, as well as new ones. And for the last few days, the Smithsonian team has been recording the 11-member Quail Bay Band at Aqua Sound Studio in Christiansted.
Our archival recordings include Paul Robeson, who, of course, in the 1950s was a giant, even though he was blacklisted during those days. He had his own record label, and we started, the first recording of this series was a compilation of those historic recordings.
It's a great honor for the world-traveling band with its unique sound.
What distinguishes Quail Bay from the rest is the banjo, the strum of the banjo, the steel, and the squash. What happened is our music is highly percussive, so that you could hear each instrument beating out a rhythm.
That's a very, very good thing that the Smithsonian is doing, coming to the Virgin Islands to preserve Kwelbe music, for generations and generations and generations to come.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Stanley and the Ten Sleepless Knights have been playing for more than 40 years. The Legacy Series recordings are available at www.folkways.si.edu. The Division of Personnel is looking for government employees to participate in VINGN's Train the Trainer and digital literacy program. Employees selected for the program will take an online training course, receive certification, and then be able to train their fellow co-workers. Only 2 employees will be selected from each district for the program, so interested employees should get their agency's head approval. The deadline to submit and to sign up is March 13th. For more information on how to apply, employees should contact Diane Bino at personnel at 774-8588. Well, as we reported on Tuesday, Delegate to Congress Donna Christensen joined her colleagues in the Congressional Black Caucus on the floor of the House of Representatives on Monday evening to speak against the federal budget sequester, which went into effect on March 1st. Congresswoman Christensen spoke specifically about the effect that the sequester will have on the Virgin Islands. She spoke about the losses to education, Head Start, WIC, TRIO, and Upward Bound, and services to those with HIV and AIDS. Christensen said that in addition to the $13 million expected to be cut from funding to the territory, that the federal agencies that are present in the territories will have to make some severe funding decisions if this impasse is not resolved. She also announced that all congressional budgets have been reduced by 8.2%. Meanwhile, it started with threats over national security, job losses, border security, and pay. The fight over the automatic government spending cuts is now focusing on things like the White House tours and golf games. The word went out on Tuesday from the White House Visitor's Office, which told members of Congress the Secret Service says that reassigning their officers who normally conduct the tours will reduce overtime costs and may reduce furloughs. Republicans who've accused the president of over-dramatizing the effect of the budget cuts erupted. They point out the White House spends tens of thousands of dollars on parties and Christmas decorations every year. Meanwhile, the House has passed a bill to avoid a government shutdown at the end of the month. In a 267 to 151 vote on Wednesday, the House passed the measure which averts a shutdown on March 27th when current funding expires. The bill allows for the funding of government agencies through September 30th and also gives the military some relief funds for critical nation security needs. The Senate will take up the continuing resolution next week, but Democrats are largely opposed to the measure because it does not replace the across-the-board budget cuts that went into effect last week.
On this vote, the yeas are 267, the nays are 151. The bill is passed without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Now, President Barack Obama has asked some Republican senators to join him for dinner in an attempt to solve the political gridlock in Washington. The lawmakers scheduled to attend tonight's dinner at a hotel near the White House include Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator John McCain. Graham said he is assuming President Obama wants to talk seriously about the issues of the day, but if he just wants to have dinner to get to know each other better, that's fine too. The president is also taking a rare trip to Capitol Hill next week to meet with other Republican senators. Keeping our eye on the economy, stocks opened higher after payroll processing firm ADP reported better than expected news on the jobs front. Private employers added 198,000 jobs last month. That beat analysts' estimates. And federal budget cuts are having an impact at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. There have been staff cutbacks and White House tours will be canceled, that we just mentioned, effective this Saturday until further notice. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank's Stock Market Watch. The Dow up 42, NASDAQ down 1, S&P up 1. Coming up on News 2, the Department of Health has earned the Joint Commission's Gold Seal of Approval for the methadone program for demonstrating compliance with the national standards for behavioral health care. We'll be right back. Venezuela's foreign minister says Vice President Nicolas Maduro will serve as interim president in the wake of Hugo Chavez's death, and that elections will be called within 30 days. Chavez lost a 2-year battle with cancer that was first detected in his pelvis. He was 58. Shattered supporters of Hugo Chavez paraded his coffin through the streets of Caracas today, Wednesday, in a flood of emotion that allies hope will help his deputy win an election and keep his self-styled revolution alive. Tens of thousands of Chavistas marched with the coffin carrying the remains of the flamboyant and outspoken president, draped in Venezuela's blue, red, and yellow national flag. His body will be taken to a military academy on Wednesday to lie in state for 3 days before a state funeral. The future of Chavez's leftist policies, which won him the adoration of poor Venezuelans but infuriated opponents who denounced him as a dictator. The Virgin Islands Department of Health has recently been awarded re-accreditation for its behavioral health opioid treatment program, or methadone program, earning the department the Joint Commission's gold seal of approval for the program. Department of Health was awarded re-accreditation for demonstrating compliance with the national standards for behavioral health care. Health Commissioner Doris Plaskett says that the department is pleased to be awarded the re-accreditation, stating that with the stamp of approval from the Joint Commission, it certifies that clients will receive the best possible services from the Department of Health. Well, a major winter storm has moved out of the Midwest and is now bearing down on the East Coast. It started as a rain and sleet, and now it's snow falling in the nation's capital. 5 to 10 inches are expected in the city, while outlying areas could see up to 1 to 2 feet of snow. Generators are in high demand and people worry about power outages. Road crews are mobilized with plows and sand to clear roads and highways. Hundreds of flights have been canceled already in Washington, D.C. and New York, where the storm is headed next. More than 1,500 flights were canceled across the U.S. on Tuesday. At Chicago's O'Hare Airport, one of the busiest in the world, 9 inches of snowfall took its toll on departures and arrivals. On the coast, flooding is a concern. Flood warnings stretch from Delaware to Long Island. Stick around, your News 2 weather forecast is coming up next.